Absolutely gross stuff. It's like some absolutely gross Tyre dressing that the dealers put on Range Rover. Look at that. So that's going to be fun. Probably going to have to use, at the end of it, some solvents, which I know shouldn't do to rubber, but it's only one off. Give it a good jet wash down, scrub it off with some detergent and see how far I get. But quite a few things that need doing to the wheels. There's a few light scratches. I'm not sure you can pick them up every so and then, so I'll get the machine polished and try and take anything out, any of the deeper stuff out. But a bigger issue is that they've done a pretty crap job of cleaning them up before they put the wheel weights on, and this is not the worst example. I hate it when they leave all the foam and shit behind, but you know, you can see how they've applied them is pretty rough. I could probably just pull that off with my finger. You'll see on some of the other wheels where they've got, in my opinion, probably used a cheaper balancing machine where it's not told you where to spin the tyre around first to take as much of the imbalance out before you start putting weights on, because you can see there's some horrific weights on there, and I mean the new wheels and new tyres, you wouldn't expect to see that. So it's what it is. These tyres won't be staying on these wheels forever. I'll be putting some 18 tyres on at some point, but these are almost new tyres, so may as well get use out of them and test out the higher 65 profile on the L322. We'll see if that fits, and then on the Discovery, I'm not really sure which they're going to stay on at the minute, so let's give it a go. I think we'll just give it a jet wash first, use some bilthamber auto wheels on it, take out all the iron from the brake dust that's left on, and then I'll probably start to mask off these areas with the tape so I know exactly where the weights have come off. And I bought some new wheel weights off Amazon. They look exactly the same to my eye, zinc coated steel, painted black, so I'll go and grab them and just give them a check first. I was going to say these weigh a ton, but obviously they don't. You can calculate exactly how much they weigh, but I can't remember how much I paid. Is it for 15 quid or 25 quid? I don't know. It's one of those things you've just got to pay for. They look exactly the same to me. Sort of a grey-black foam. Maybe this foam's black and that's grey, but yeah, they look almost exactly the same. So I'll be able to mark them off and swap them over, so hopefully they're still in balance when I'm finished. One other thing is, again, buddy Cowboys taken some of the wheel weights out and they've actually gouged through the aluminium. So I'm going to have to drop a bit of touch-up repair on some of the paint. I don't know if you picks it up, but you can actually see a little bit in there. It's a bit shiny. Well, it's gone back down to aluminium, so that'll corrode pretty quickly, especially where we live next to the beach. So with all the salt, so I'm going to have to touch these up with some black and then I'll just polish them in. But yeah, let's get the jet wash out. Give them all a thorough clean and see where we are. So, have got some white spirit, did give it a test and it does strip it. Again, not super advised. Got some Auto Smart TARDIS, which is, if anyone's in the game knows, it's the old school sort of strongest thing that you can get that I'm aware of for removing tar and glue. It does seem to actually remove it just as effectively as the white spirit, so obviously I don't want to be getting any of this on the paint, probably at least tarnish it and dull it, so I'll be going with this. If I have to give a final wipe over with this before I put any dressing on, then I will do, but let's bring these out on here. Get it off. Just missed my face on that one. for a minute because of the stuff I've got on here. Oh, wind, fail. I don't think it's actually dissolving it. And there's no sort of suds to this either, it's flattening it off, which is probably silicone. But I might get the brush drill attachment just to do the outer bits, but I don't want to catch these and start scratching them up. But so far that's not doing much. So, let's try this first. Could really do with putting some in a spray bottle, but this stuff just, in my experience, munches through sprayers. And you can see how black that's going immediately, and it's all like foaming up black in there. So, this is the stuff that's just going to absolutely munch through it all. I worked at literally for a day at a Citroen dealership when I was a kid. Valeting. Not a nice environment. So it wasn't for me. Needed money, fresh out of college, uni, can't remember which one it is. And yeah, they have these little tubs of slime, black slime like this, and the paintbrush, and they just sling it on everything. So I know how it goes. They don't give a shit. Definitely much better, but I'm not happy, so when I hit it again, nothing come off on my thumb then. Start at the valve so then I know where I've left off. I do have one of those soft 99 wheel mitts that obviously I don't need now because I've got the wheel off, but I usually use that to get to the back of the spokes. It's just that last 1% which makes a big difference in terms of how long the paint lasts on your wheels. As if you've got any paint exposed, any metal exposed, it'll just corrode, and yeah, it'll look nasty in a few years. So get all that wheel brake dust off there as much as you can, but depends on how much you give a shit about your car, I guess. or some people like me, they just enjoy this sort of thing to a degree. Gets a bit monotonous when you're doing it on multiple cars and you've got other stuff to do, but it's, as long as you don't have a deadline, I find it quite therapeutic. So it's a nice day today. I'm on a couple of weeks off work now, so I can just go on a slow burn. You guys can't see anything, just realised. I have to go with a head mount next time. I won't always go to this degree. Maybe sometimes I do and I'm just lying to myself, but it's just the first ownership of wheels. I'm just making sure I get to absolutely everything. I'm not going to go to the degree of ceramic coating by hand. I'm just going to use a spray ceramic because honestly I have got better things to do in my life than touch every single millimetre of this and buff it off, so we'll not be doing that. In terms of tire protection, I'll probably choose Carpro Pearl 1-to-1. But sometimes it needs a couple of goes over in my opinion, but it looks nice and factory fresh, so I like to go with it. See, I'm so accustomed to the smell of this stuff now. I actually think I like it a bit. My partner, she absolutely hates it, so word of warning, if you don't want an argument inside the house, then don't take the towels inside the house, the cloths, like the wash mitts, just don't do it. Try and rinse them off as much as you can outside or something, I don't know. Avoid argument at all costs. Surprised actually how much you can do with a detailing brush. It just takes you a bit longer, but to be honest with you, it's all you need for the majority of this, especially if it's a wheel off. Don't need the barrel brushes. They actually have a French train situation going on here. You can just see it poking out a little bit there, so it's really handy. I can just blast all that crap into there. Tar and glue remove this first, I think. I'll get a rag on it. Yeah, you can have some of my old boxes. Look at them bad boys. Seriously, that's why I threw them away. They're like little briefs now. Definitely not a medium. Give it a little soak. Now, to start with. I mean, that was ridiculous. It just fell off. Got some IPA. Try not to nick the paint. They got rusty. Good enough for me. Lots of pressure. Yeah. Right. That's not going anywhere. And in the spirit of saving money, keep the masking tape. I haven't buggered it up. Slip it under. There we go. There we go. Tyre and glue removers dissolved with masking tape. So in there, looks like the same similar sort of really deep gloss, a lot of high pigment, and I'm just gonna hard to say, but if you can see it, but just something there. So I'll do the same, I'll just fill a bit in, mount it up. A couple little bits up here as well. Yep, that's lumped up. Should be able to flat that back. These are tiny, so a lot less. Day 2, nice and sunny, nice and warm. Cool. got the gyeon wet coat that's been warming up all day, sat in the sun. There's some one. We'll spray this on, and I'll probably give it a quick. You can actually spray it on a microfiber wash mitt as well, and rub it on too, just for full coverage. Just make sure getting all the nooks and crannies. It's fine on a flat panel at the top, and you can rinse it down without having to do that. But on something like this, yeah, just a little spritz, a little wipe. Not atomizing very well yet. Come on. Way too much, but it just wasn't atomizing. Yeah, do these little socks. We've got stains all over. I think this is silica based, this is old school, another, yeah, silicon oxide. Another product that's been around in the detailing scene for a very long time. I'm sure there's better ones out these days. I've got some gyeon ceramic stuff, the purple, blue stuff, which I didn't really like. And I've got some gyeon, sort of like a cream, which is more of a everyday-ish product. But I always turn back to this, just like the finish, easy to apply. Yeah, see, I've got a spread everywhere. It's alright, because I'm going to go over these with some gyeon quick detailing spray, which has got a carnauba in there, just to finish it off with the gloss, but also take any final weirdness off the surface. And that's it, done. Gyeon quick detailer. That is one good looking wheel. Definitely better than factory fresh. Right, that's done. Nothing more to do except 3 more of them. So
Out of my mind, how many times did I tell you?